Mandy Harvey, a deaf singer with an incredible voice, made headlines around the world after her success on America's Got Talent. She used vibrations from the floor to pick up the beat, although she could hear nothing.
And what's your name?
Mandy Harvey.
And who's this?
My interpreter. I lost all my hearing when I was 18 years old.
Wow. And how old are you now?
29. So it's 10 years. I have a connective tissue disorder, so basically I got sick and my nerves deteriorated. I've been singing since I was 4, so I left music after I lost my hearing and then figured out how to get back into singing with muscle memory, using visual tuners and trusting my pitch.
So your shoes are off because you're feeling the vibration. Is that how you're following the music?
Yeah, I'm feeling the tempo, the beat through the floor.
And Mandy, what are you going to sing?
I'm gonna sing a song that I wrote called Try. After I lost my hearing, I gave up, but I want to do more with my life than just give up. So.
Good for you. Good for you. Okay, well, look, this is your moment, and good luck.
I don't feel the way I used to. The sky is grey, much more than it is blue.
Well, that was the incredible Mandy, but when she first took to the stage, she describes how she received death threats from within the deaf community for promoting a hearing activity. She was accused by a few of promoting oralism, the word used to explain the practice of educating deaf people to use speech and lip reading rather than sign language. So tonight we want to try and explore the feelings that lie beneath this. Why do some deaf people consider speech and singing treachery? And why is sign language perceived to be a more pure means of communication and of identity for them? Joining me now is Honesty Willoughby and Zoe McQuinney. They're speaking through an interpreter. They're flatmates, but they have different perspectives. Honesty and Zoe, many thanks for coming in to join us. No one's talking about death threats, but what did you make of this row, Zoe?
Well, in terms of the death threats, really, in the American deaf community, that it is showing that they're quite frustrated, that there are an element of people there that are quite frustrated. There is an organisation that are based in America, and they're very, very strong in terms. Their name is AGB, and what it is that their promotion of oralism is very, very strong. And they lie about their research, and really, deaf people are fed up. They do seem to, I mean, hearing people think that oralism is the way forward and it's positive, but deaf people are fed up of it.
Honesty.
And for me, linking to that, I'm really quite disappointed with what happened. I'm disappointed with the news and how it represented the deaf community and saying that they were sending death threats and things like that. That's not the deaf community. It's a small number of people, and it's a really negative representation of us as a whole.
And this is why I don't want to talk about the death threats, leaving that to one side. Do you understand, though, where this sense of discomfort comes from, betrayal even, that deaf people are, this word, oralists, using singing or speaking instead of a pure language of sign? Zoe?
I think in America, in America's Got Talent, in that programme, I mean, with that individual with her beautiful voice, which is spectacular, and deaf people that know sign language, I mean, they don't really know exactly. They didn't know that this individual was not born deaf. She lost her hearing, she became deaf. So people immediately recognise and say, oh, you're deaf. And it's just that same scenario repeating itself again. And singing for us is not accessible.
OK, so signing is a purer form for you in the deaf community of communicating, because it's a world that you're always part of all the time. Is that the point?
In terms of there being a border between hearing and signing, there's always that element of gesture and visualisation. With sign language, deaf people, that's how we access communication. English speech, Spanish speech, French speech, that's their form of communication, of course. And also, there's been misinformation about oralism that's been spread all over the world. And what about sign language? We need a little bit more focus on that and more awareness on that and the importance of sign language.
So can I ask a question? Honesty, you were born into a speaking, a hearing family. Your mother chose not to teach you through oral language, but to sign instead. How did she make that decision?
Oh. When I was born, I mean, of course, when I was growing up, I didn't know anything about the deaf community. And going through the medical experience, I was told that I should learn through oralism. But sign language is my right. That's my language. My family, well, my mother was advised that I should be taught to speak. But my mother looked into it. She did her own research and refused. And found out that there is a deaf community. And they learn sign language. And that is accessible for me, and I have my own language, and it's full access for myself.
From the outside, for people who are not familiar with the deaf community, I'm sure there'll be many saying, look, it's great to have signing, why wouldn't you add in speaking if you can, singing if you can, lip reading if you can as well? Why wouldn't you have the richest experience you possibly can?
Yes. I mean, bilingualism, of course, that's good.
You agree with that. Do you, Zoe?
I think in terms of speech and sign, it's dual languages and it's quite difficult. There are some people who can do that quite well. But to do that at the same time, it's impossible because you lose focus on one language. But in terms of the grammar, the structure, the syntax, everything that's linked that creates a language, it's totally different.
But does it feel then like...
It's almost like patting your head and rubbing your tummy. It's doing two different things at the same time.
Sorry to interrupt. I just want to ask, does it feel like a political choice for you within the deaf community to say, signing is my identity, it is my deaf identity, and I don't want the confusion of anything else?
Yes and no. I think with sign language, it is becoming quite a political issue. It's not an issue of saying, I can't speak, it's saying, I don't speak. Because the hearing community, of course, it's quite powerful. And of course, with technology, cochlear implants and things like that, and with that sort of research in place, people can understand the theories that deaf people might be able to speak, but we need to also show awareness that speech can happen. I mean, for example, my family's deaf, they all sign. And sign language exists in the wider community as well. I mean, with hearing people, they've got eyes, they've got hands, they can learn.
Honesty and Zoe, thank you both very much indeed, and thank you for interpreting for us.